Warning, this video mentions and features potentially upsetting imagery regarding race crashes. Viewer discretion is advised. Formula 1, as the fastest and most dangerous motorsport in the world, has long been compared to the gladiatorial battles of ancient Rome. The greatest drivers on the world placed on the hallowed grounds of motorsport's most legendary circuits to decide on a true champion. As a result, the sport is peppered now and then by extraordinary rivalries between those drivers exceptionally talented enough to drive on the limits and tenacious enough to duel for victory. Hunt and Lauda, Piquet and Mansell, Häkkinen and Schumacher. However, perhaps the greatest and most tragic rivalry in Formula 1 history began in the historic 1982 season between two teammates at the stable of the legendary Prancing Horse. This is the story of Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. The rivalry between Didier Pironi and Gilles Villeneuve started out amicably, to the surprise of many. Gilles Villeneuve, now entering 1982 as his fifth season with the Scuderia, was fast being established as a living legend. A fan favourite, the French-Canadian was well known on the grid for risking it all and then some. Incredibly quick and famously skilled at overtaking, Villeneuve was a firm favourite for the World Championship year after year, reportedly getting so close to Enzo Ferrari himself that Il Commendatore regarded Gilles as a son. Pironi himself was a major up-and-coming success in both open-wheelers and sports car racing, taking outright victory in the 1978 24 Hours of Le Mans for Renault Alpine. Two respectable seasons in Formula 1 with the underfunded and underperforming Tyrrell team caught the attention of Frenchman Guy Ligier, who signed Pironi up for his own team in 1980. Pironi hugely impressed at Ligier with 4 podiums and a win, leading Enzo Ferrari himself to personally sign Pironi for 1981 alongside Villeneuve. That year, Villeneuve placed 7th in the championship in the poorly performing Ferrari 126C, winning 2 races, with Pironi 13th in the championship, scoring 9 points. Both drivers got on well with each other, with Pironi acclimatising well to life at Ferrari and enjoying a friendly relationship with Villeneuve.
Pole position in his Renault, ahead of world champion Nelson Piquet in his new Brabham BMW. Third fastest, Gilles Villeneuve's new Ferrari, with Riccardo Patrese fourth.
The beginning of the 1982 season was embedded in political wrangling. The South African Grand Prix was dominated by the Lauda-led strike over the new super license rules, while in Brazil and Long Beach there seemed to be a never-ending squabble over technical regulations. For Ferrari, the season started off incredibly poorly. Pironi only scored a single point with 6th place in Brazil, while Villeneuve was disqualified from a podium finish at Long Beach. However, the FISA-FOCA war tipped the balance in Ferrari's favour. The Brabham, Williams, Lotus and McLaren teams boycotted the San Marino Grand Prix, leaving the Renault as the only true competition for Ferrari. During the race, Alain Prost's Renault retired with engine failure on lap 6, handing his teammate René Arnoux the lead. The 3 francophone drivers battled it out in an incredible fight for the lead. However, on lap 44, to the crowd's delight, Arnoux also retired. Ferrari were now home and away, holding Villeneuve in the lead with Pironi behind to earn an easy 1-2 finish. Except it wasn't that easy. Villeneuve had understood the team orders to mean slow down, holding station in front of Pironi. Pironi interpreted the order as be careful, meaning that when he executed a perfectly clean overtake at the Tosa hairpin to win his first race in Formula 1, Villeneuve was absolutely incensed. He believed that Pironi had disobeyed team orders with his overtake, saying, "I've declared war, I'll do my own thing in the future." He also vowed to never speak to Pironi again, which would tragically come true at Zolder in Belgium just 2 weeks later. In the closing 10 minutes of qualifying at Zolder, Pironi was on pole by just a 10th of a second from Villeneuve. Striving for top slot on the grid, Villeneuve swooped upon Jochen Mass's slow-moving march at the Telamenbocht corner. Mass moved to the right to give the Ferrari driver passing room, but Villeneuve went the same way as the German. The 2 cars touched wheels, launching the Ferrari into the air at approximately 140 miles per hour. Villeneuve's car stayed airborne for over 100 metres before nosediving into the ground and hitting the catch fence, disintegrating as it cartwheeled across the edge of the track. Villeneuve had suffered a fatal fracture to the neck, and was pronounced dead later that evening. Had Villeneuve really been so desperate to catch Pironi for his betrayal, or was it just Villeneuve himself, pushing until the very end? The world will never know. In subsequent races, Pironi became more detached from the team. After being barred from Villeneuve's funeral, the Frenchman seemingly blamed himself for Villeneuve's death and became more focused on the championship. He was now obsessed with winning. 3 races later, Pironi stalled his Ferrari on the grid at the Canadian Grand Prix. Rookie Riccardo Paletti, driving in his first full Formula 1 race in the Osella Ford, had asked his mother to come and see the race 2 days before his 24th birthday. Paletti couldn't see the Ferrari in the pouring rain and smashed into the rear of Pironi's Ferrari at 120 miles an hour. Paletti's fuel tank ignited, enveloping his Osella in a wall of flame. Paletti later died in hospital of severe blunt force trauma to his chest and legs, becoming the second fatality of the 1982 season. In qualifying for the German Grand Prix, Pironi was on a hot lap when his Ferrari hit the back of Alain Prost's slow-moving Renault, vaulting over the top of it before landing tail first and cartwheeling to a stop, an eerie similarity to Gilles' fatal accident earlier in the season. His legs were severely damaged, and Pironi was unable to drive for the rest of the 1982 season. He missed the last 4 races and lost the championship to Williams' Keke Rosberg by just 5 points. Due to the extent of his injuries, Pironi was unable to race in Formula 1 again. He took up powerboat racing instead, and was sadly killed in an accident in August 1987. Gilles Villeneuve's death left a great and lasting legacy on the racing world. At the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, the venue of the San Marino Grand Prix, a corner was named after Villeneuve, and a Canadian flag is traditionally painted on the 3rd slot in the starting grid, from which he started his last race. There is also a bronze bust of him at the entrance to the Ferrari test track at Fiorano. Canada's own Grand Prix circuit, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, was renamed in his honour in 1982 and still hosts Formula 1 races to this day. Gilles' son, Jacques Villeneuve, raced in Formula 1 from 1996 to 2006 and won the 1997 World Drivers' Championship for Williams. Didier Pironi also left a legacy on Formula 1. After his death, his girlfriend Catherine Gu gave birth to twin boys. She named them Didier and Gilles in honour of both drivers. Pironi's legacy came full circle in 2020, when Gilles Pironi, now an engineer for the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team, lifted the Constructors' Trophy on the podium at the 2020 British Grand Prix. In just a few short months of drama and unimaginable tragedy, what could have been the greatest rivalry in Formula 1 history was cruelly cut short. Didier Pironi would not become France's maiden world champion, and Gilles Villeneuve would not live to see his son win the Formula 1 World Championship. A great loss, not just for their grieving families, but for the racing world as a whole.